Hi everyone, hope you're doing well. So I just posted on my channel just the other day a whole load of DVDs that I picked up in early December. A real range of titles there. Please do check out that video if you haven't done so already. But there's more. I've actually just had a short mini break. I went over to Victoria, BC for a couple of days and I ended up walking around a lot. I did a half marathon really, 24 kilometers of walking around where I found a whole load of different thrift stores as well as a video store that had taken over the stock from a closed video rental store. So lots of stuff to show you. Here we go. Let me know which movies you know. Let me know which movies you've seen. First up we have Bette Davis in this classic from 1940, The Letter, directed by William Wyler and based on the play by Somerset Maugham. Next, a recent movie this is Emily the Criminal with Aubrey Plaza. Really enjoyed this one about a credit card scam. And yeah, Aubrey Plaza is great in this. I've really enjoyed her in movies, including Ingrid Goes West and Black Bear. This is possibly one of her best performances. And of course, she's always fun on chat shows as well. Great movie. Next, pleased to find this. This is a Western from 1973 with Burt Reynolds and Sarah Miles, The Man Who Loved Cat Dancing. And this is directed by Richard C. Sarafian, who did Vanishing Point, Fragment of Fear, and Man in the Wilderness. Next, a classic here from director John Boorman with Lee Marvin, and this is Point Blank from 1967. Always a curious film to watch this. I've seen it several times. It's very ambiguous, but yeah, thoroughly engrossing. Next up, it's a film noir from 1947 and directed by Otto Preminger. This is Daisy Kenyon with Joan Crawford, Dana Andrews, and Henry Fonda. Next, really enjoyed seeing this one at the cinema. This is Toni Erdmann, German movie with Sandra Hüller, who's currently riding high. She's in both Anatomy of a Fall, directed by Justine Triet, and Zone of Interest, also directed by Jonathan Glazer. But yeah, this 2016 movie is a great deal of fun. Her performance in this is fantastic. Very glad that Hollywood didn't go ahead with the proposed remake that was going to star Jack Nicholson. This is a great movie. Next, now Indicator put out a great set, which I don't actually have, called Mexico Macabre during 2023. And I've seen one movie from that set called The Witch's Mirror. But there's another movie not on that set, which I had seen on Mubi, and now I have it on DVD. And it's this excellent movie, The Skeleton of Mrs. Morales. I absolutely love this movie. It's a great deal of fun about a very friendly, kind-natured taxidermist who has a very nagging wife. And so he decides to do away with her, and because he's such a kindly natured man, he's not thought of as a suspect. Next, from director Michael Winterbottom, who's done the Trip movies with Steve Coogan and Rob Brydon, and this is Tristram Shandy, a cock and bull story. Next, really pleased to get this. This is England. This is really a modern British classic, I would say, directed by Shane Meadows. Next, we've got a set of Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis movies here. 5 movies on this set, which include Partners, Hollywood or Bust, Living It Up, You're Never Too Young, and Artists and Models. And there you can see the movie posters for them. Next, we've got a Western that's been put out by Kino Lorber, and this is A Minute to Pray, A Second to Die. What a great title. From 1967, starring Alex McCord, Arthur Kennedy, and Robert Ryan. And this is directed by Franco Girardi, who was an assistant director on A Fistful of Dollars. Next, from 1960, and we've got this 5 Oscar-nominated movie, Never on Sunday, which is set in Greece, and it's written, directed by, and starring Jules Dassin, who did the famous Rififi, and this concerns him actually playing an American scholar, philosopher, who arrives in Greece and sets about trying to reform this carefree prostitute that's played by Melina Mercouri, who also starred in Jules Dassin's Top Copy. Next, from 1950, this is a classic of British cinema, directed by Basil Dearden. This is put out by Kino Lorber. But yeah, The Blue Lamp with Jack Warner as PC George Dixon, who ended up being in a TV series as well called Dixon of Dock Green. And this features Dirk Bogarde as a killer. Next, from 1957 and directed by and written by Samuel Fuller, this is China Gate. This is about mercenaries during the French Indochina War in 1954, setting about trying to blow up an arms depot. And this features Nat King Cole in the cast. Next, from 1987, this is a great one, written and directed by David Mamet, and this was his first film as a director. He famously perhaps also wrote Glengarry Glen Ross, but yeah, this is a really good sort of gambling con drama with excellent performances from Joe Mantegna and Lindsay Krause. Next, from 1970, we've got Colossus, the Forbin Project, and this is directed by Joseph Sargent, who also did The Taking of Pelham 123. The script on this is written by James Bridges, who also wrote The China Syndrome. But yeah, this is a thriller that concerns the invention of supercomputers that can deal with the launching of nuclear missiles. What could possibly go wrong? Next, pleased to find this. This is a childhood favourite, Storm Boy, Australian movie involving a young boy living on a beach with his father who takes care of a pelican. But yeah, just a wonderful little film. David Gulpilil also stars in this. Next, from 1958, we've got Joseph L. Mankiewicz's version of Graham Greene's The Quiet American. Not seen this one. I have seen the Michael Caine remake, but yeah, I look forward to seeing the original. Next, and I've got Sudden Death with Jean-Claude Van Damme, and this co-stars Powers Booth as well. But actually, what's really interesting for me is that it also stars Dorian Harewood, and definitely when I was a kid, Dorian Harewood I just thought was super cool. So yeah, I'm always like seeing him in movies. Sudden Death. Next. Yes, I have to have more Elvis, obviously, whenever I can, and this is 2 doses of Elvis in Double Trouble. Next, from Russia and from 1926, this is Miss Mend. Really interesting one, this. This is basically 3 feature-length episodes, so it runs on for about 265 minutes. But yeah, this really was Russia's answer to the American sort of serial-type adventures. So they didn't just want to be known for having the serious directors like Eisenstein and Ziggy Vertov. They wanted to be able to match America with producing thrilling adventures with lots of stunts and thrills in them. So yeah, Miss Mend, this involves a group of reporters and a very headstrong woman here who set about trying to uncover a biological attack that's going to be made on Russia. So I look forward to seeing this. Next, from 1962, directed by Edward Dmytryk, and this is Walk on the Wild Side with Lawrence Harvey, Capuchin, best known perhaps for the Pink Panther movies, and Jane Fonda. Next, from 1978, directed by Billy Wilder, this is Fedora, which is not really a sequel to, but perhaps complements his earlier classic, Sunset Boulevard. Again, this one has William Holden starring in it as a Hollywood producer, trying to bring out of retirement a reclusive actress played by Marta Keller. Next, from 1985, really pleased to find this. This is Restless Natives. I enjoyed seeing this one at the cinema. It involves a couple of Scottish lads who set about robbing tourist buses, and then they become mini celebrities in the doing. Yeah, this was a good, fun movie. Came out sort of around the same kind of time that Bill Forsyth comedies were coming out, like Gregory's Girl and Local Hero and things like that. But yeah, this was just good fun. Director Michael Hoffman sort of went on from here to go to Hollywood and made films such as Soap Dish and One Fine Day with George Clooney, and a really ghastly remake of Gambit in 2012 with Colin Firth. Next, let's go all the way back to 1922, and this is Beyond the Rocks. And this stars the great Rudolph Valentino as well as Gloria Swanson, who I just mentioned, obviously perhaps best known to people nowadays for being in Billy Wilder's Sunset Boulevard. But yeah, here she is back in her silent days. This is directed by Sam Wood, who also directed a few of the Marx Brothers movies, as well as Goodbye Mr. Chips. And yeah, this DVD also includes another feature which is called The Delicious Little Devil, which is also another Rudolph Valentino movie. So yeah, great find. Next from 1950, and this is a film noir starring Joan Crawford, and it's directed by Vincent Sherman, who also did a few other film noirs such as Affair in Trinidad and The Garment Jungle, both of which you can get via Indicator. And next from 1970, we've got a spaghetti western here, Compañeros, starring Franco Nero and Thomas Milian, Fernando Rey and Jack Palance. And this is directed by Sergio Corbucci, who did the great Django as well as the fantastic The Great Silence. Music score by Ennio Morricone. Really pleased to find this. This is a Criterion from 1962. This is Sundays and Cybele. I've really wanted to see this. This concerns a war veteran coming back from the French Indochina War who befriends a young lonely girl who's played by Patricia Gozzi. So the reason that this one particularly intrigues me is that I am a big fan of the John Guillermin film Rapture, which also stars Patricia Gozzi. This film was director John Guillermin's own personal favourite out of all of the films that he directed. He also did The Towering Inferno and King Kong from 1976. But Patricia Gozzi actually is more well known for being in this movie. So yeah, definitely want to see this. Next from 1917, we've got Hoffman. This stars Peter Sellers as a ruthless businessman who blackmails his secretary into going away for a weekend with him. And this co-stars Sinead Cusack. You can also get this on Blu-ray via Indicator. Next from 1951, and we have 14 Hours, and this is another film noir, and it involves a man who's threatening to commit suicide while standing on the ledge of a tall building. This was the feature film debut for Grace Kelly, and it was directed by Henry Hathaway, who's also directed a couple of other film noirs, which include Kiss of Death with Victor Mature and Cool Northside 777 with James Stewart. And also he's directed a couple of really good westerns, including True Grit and The Sons of Katie Elder. Next, I do have this on one of those newspaper freebie DVDs, but really pleased to now have a proper DVD copy of this. This is Pele the Conqueror, starring the great Max von Sydow. A really wonderful performance from him in this, directed by Bille August. Now, when it comes to Jean-Paul Belmondo and Jean Seberg, then hopefully this film will spring to mind, which is Breathless, directed by Jean-Luc Godard, also known as A Bout de Souffle. But actually, Jean-Paul Belmondo and Jean Seberg reunited 4 years later in 1964 for this unrelated movie called Backfire, directed by Gene Becker. Next, now I know nowadays you can get this via Criterion Collection, but this is a really nice 2-disc DVD set of Midnight Cowboy starring Jon Voight and Dustin Hoffman. Just show you briefly the inside. And it also includes a nice set of cards here as well. I'll briefly show you. I'm walking here. Next, from 1962, this was the directing debut for Frank Perry, who went on to direct The Swimmer and Doc. But yeah, this is David and Lisa, starring Keir Dullea. Next, rather more modern this is Those Who Wish Me Dead, with Angelina Jolie. This was a quick thriller that was made by Taylor Sheridan in between all his writing for the Yellowstone series. Next, I've got a Blu-ray here. This is the 20th anniversary edition of Hackers, Johnny Lee Miller, and again, Angelina Jolie, very young in this one. Next, a good 2-disc edition here of Dr. Strangelove. Weirdly, I've got a Blu-ray set of all the Stanley Kubrick movies, but it omits to have Dr. Strangelove on it. So, yeah, glad to have this. I do have Dr. Strangelove on Laserdisc as well, but yeah, this is nice to have. Next, saw this one at the cinema. This is Alec Baldwin and Kim Basinger and James Woods in The Getaway, the remake of the Steve McQueen 1968 movie. Next, a modern movie again. I really enjoyed this one. A fantastic performance from Rosamund Pike in this, and Peter Dinklage as well made it very entertaining. This is I Care a Lot. Next, from 1917, we've got a couple of Oscar-nominated performances for Melvyn Douglas and Gene Hackman. This is I Never Sang for My Father. And then finally, really pleased to pick up this. This is from 1930. This is a British silent movie directed by Anthony Asquith, just a couple of years after he did Underground, which is released by Kino Lorber. Really great silent movie, this one. But yeah, very much looking forward to seeing this, a sort of Hitchcockian style drama based on someone escaping from Dartmoor prison and going on the run. And this DVD also includes a documentary called Silent Britain, which is written and hosted by Matthew Sweet, who does the Sound of Cinema radio program on BBC Radio 3. I don't know if anybody listens to that. It's a great show. But yeah, looking forward to watching the documentary as well, which also features the veteran cinematographer Jack Cardiff. Okay, so there we go. That was a bumper haul of DVDs, a really thrilling array of finds, I think. But let me know your thoughts on those. Which ones have you seen? Which ones do you know? Which ones might you want to see? But yeah, thanks very much for joining me on this video. I'm going to leave you now with just a brief panorama of the nighttime Victoria, just so you can see what that looks like. Join me again for some more videos. I'll see you again, hopefully. All the best to you. Bye-bye.